1. My girlfriend has been living with me for 6 months. I own our house. Before my girlfriend and I got together, it was just me and my daughter living here. My daughter is 19, in college and works. I do not charge her rent. She pays for her cell phone and car. Sometime after my girlfriend moved in, her son from out of state decided to move down here. He asked if they could stay with us for a week or two until they found a place to live. They bring him, his girlfriend, their toddler, and their infant. When the 2-week mark was nearing, I encouraged them with apartment searching and extended stay hotels. I even gave them some contacts of trustworthy landlords I know. The son asked girlfriend if they could stay longer. She asked me and I said no. That's when the argument started. She asked if I was really going to throw out her grandchildren. I told her if it came down to it, the grandkids could stay, but I'm not budging on her son and his girlfriend. She got mad and said, it's not fair that my pot-smoking daughter is allowed to live here rent-free and take up 2 rooms while her kids get thrown on the street. Not relevant, but my daughter uses one of the spare rooms as a school or cat room. They ended up going to a hotel and girlfriend was pissed at me. Am I the a-hole for kicking them out? I know I let my adult daughter live here, but it's completely different from an entire family living here. My daughter keeps to herself. She stays upstairs and I stay downstairs. She is in school and working on moving out. The only job they had between the 2 of them was selling weed. I have little faith that they would actually work on moving out if I kept extending their welcome. Not the a-hole OP. Your house is your daughter's house. You don't have to justify her living there to anyone. You generously offered for a family of 4 to crash with you for 2 weeks. You were obviously doing this for your girlfriend. It's not your responsibility to provide them a free home indefinitely because they didn't find a place in the agreed upon time. You didn't kick them out on the streets. They are the ones who moved without having a place for their family to live beyond 2 weeks. This is on them. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. You're giving your daughter a great chance to get her education while living at home. Sounds like she's taking a reasonable degree of responsibility while living at home. Good for her. But a girlfriend wanting a whole family to stay indefinitely is unreasonable. Sounds like they're crappy people and you don't owe them a free home. Why saddle yourself with losers? Girlfriend is full of denial and it smells like shit. Not the a-hole. Your daughter was there before your girlfriend and goes to school. Your girlfriend's family explicitly moved in on the premise that it was just temporary as they were moving in from out of state. All accounts are that they're now seeking to stay there for longer, not at all remotely similar. Moreover, your girlfriend is giving off a strong odor of, I'm only interested in you for what you can give me. Not the a-hole. She's your girlfriend and not your wife, so her kids are not your stepkids. If this was a stepchild, I would allow more time, but that is not your situation. The only mistake I think you made, though, was allowing them to come to begin with, without them having a concrete plan to move out. So if they had seen a few apartments and were waiting for their apartment to be renovated, then 2 weeks was doable. They just moved in thinking they could extend their time and not put any effort into moving out. If you had given them a more clear message beforehand that it can only be 2 weeks and insisted on hearing about a concrete plan to move out, they either would not have come or they would have made more arrangements before moving in, and then you could have avoided this whole situation. You did the right thing by putting them out now. Otherwise, months would have gone by and they would still be there. Story 2. Not using my regular account because there are identifying details about me on there. I've been married to my husband for just over a year and dating him for just over 2. He has a daughter from his first marriage, Ali, who is 11. Up until recently, Ali has been staying with us 3 nights a week and alternate weekends, but she's been getting more and more difficult to deal with. She started acting out just after the wedding and her behavior just keeps getting worse. She doesn't listen to me at all. If I ask her to tidy her room or brush her teeth, she'll always respond within a minute or similar things but not actually do it. until my husband tells her to. She won't acknowledge me as a stepmother at all. She only ever refers to me by name if she's asked who I am. If she's absolutely pushed to describe who I am in relation to her, she says I'm her dad's wife. I've tried so hard to connect with her. I've invited her on shopping trips or to go out for food, but she always rebuffs my offers. She often answers back to me and my husband and will be snappy and moody in general a lot of the time. In the last few months, my husband and I have been talking about trying for our own baby, but the atmosphere and stress surrounding the house on days Ali is here are starting to worry me. I struggle to cope with her behavior now. Being pregnant is only going to make it harder. So my husband and I discussed it and decided it would be better to cut down on some of Ali's time with us. Instead of 3 days every week and alternate weekends, we agreed to 3 weekdays one week, then the weekend of the following week, then back to 3 weekdays the week after that, and so on. It's not a huge reduction, but it will really lighten the load for me. My husband talked to Ali's mother about this and she was furious. She called me some horrible names and blamed me for everything. She even accused me of trying to push Ali out of the picture to create my own perfect little family, which is completely untrue. My husband is on my side, but is scared of fighting his ex. I don't think what I'm asking for is unreasonable, but a friend said maybe I need to try to think about it from Ali and her mother's perspective. Am I being unreasonable about this? So many a-holes. You're an a-hole OP for so many reasons. I also want to point out that you don't need to be ordering this little girl. You're not a parent. You're her step-parent. You don't need to be giving this girl orders. That's her dad's job. And any therapist, had you guys bothered to see one, would tell you as such because it breeds resentment in the kid to have a new grown-up bossing them around. You are failing this kid. You suck. Your husband sucks. And I feel terrible for Ali and her mom. You and your husband should learn to do better. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Her dad is the a-hole. She's a preteen girl with a new stepmother who isn't ready to let her be another mother. How convenient for you to reduce time with her and get pregnant. Then there will be a new baby, so she can't be around because you guys are so busy with the baby. You want to edge her out, so you can have your perfect little family. Sorry, Lady Tremaine, but your stepdaughter is a family member. You don't kick your preteen out, even part-time, because they're difficult. Yes, definitely you're the a-hole. My stepdad was amazing and there for me, and generally a great dad, but I still called him by his first name until I was an adult. When I swapped from mommy to mom, I also made the first name to dad swap. This poor kid is going through a pretty big change and maybe y'all should seek counseling or try talking to her like a human person. Maybe reinforce that you're not trying to take her mother's place, but when she's staying with you and her dad, your word and your requests for chores are just as important as a dad's. You're the a-hole. She's 11. She's trying to deal with all kinds of new situations. And you as an adult are trying to change things even more. I have raised my stepchildren since they were 3, 5, and 7. Mom dropped them off 2 days after I began dating my husband. It was the second time I had ever laid eyes on them. I ended up moving in with my children immediately, and it was a rough go those first few years. Their mother had literally abandoned them, and here was some woman with her own kids suddenly taking on that role. It was hard. Some days sucked, then one day it didn't. Once they learned I wasn't leaving them, life got easier. That was 17 years ago. They are all grown and living successful lives on their own. Focus on what the child needs and not on your own nonsense. Story 3. One night I was at a nightclub and met just my right type physically, and we instantly connected. After we initially hooked up, we decided to leave it at that. Couple of weeks later, she contacted me saying that she missed me. So we had dinner and then hooked up again without a condom. We both agreed that it just felt better without it, and that I would give her the money for a plan B one step the day after. She said she hated birth control pills and that she wouldn't even discuss that as a possibility. I then asked what would happen if she got pregnant despite the day after pills. She said that she would get an abortion if I paid for it. At this stage, that was ample enough reason to bail from this arrangement. Yet I am a primitive man who thinks first with what is in my pants. Anyway, we hooked up a couple of times. One day, I agreed to meet her at her apartment and park my car nearby. I own an Italian exotic that I usually don't show off with, but that time I couldn't be bothered to take a cab. I usually try to hide my wealth as I have inherited townhouses and a lot of other flats around the city, and that I have an almost 7-figure job. I leave that night at very late hours and drive home. This is where I assume she figured that I was wealthy. 2 weeks later, she sent me a text saying that she's pregnant. I'm like, how do you want me to pay for the abortion? She says she wanted to think for a week and to give her some time and space. I assumed she was just hormonal and she would come to her senses. 1 week passes and she definitely says she wants to keep the baby. She starts saying how I would be able to provide our child great opportunities that she never had. This is where I start to panic. I've never wanted to have children. While my parents were great, I just felt that I was never cut out for children. So I started formulating plans. My grandfather was European, so I was able to start the formal process for gaining EU citizenship. I received my EU passport in about a year. I started liquidating all my assets. I put all my real estate on sale, empty my pension, and inform my boss. My boss and I have a good relationship. I was able to get a fair deal for my stock options at work. I contact European offshore jurisdictions and shift all my money to offshore European jurisdictions. While I'm not a Trump fan, I have to save him from helping me out here. The exit tax for renouncing US citizenship was about $3.2 million. Uncle Sam rinsed me for the last time. Legally speaking, I was able to still renounce despite having to pay child support. Using my new leverage that I was leaving the country and renouncing my citizenship, my lawyers were able to have the child support. Tomorrow I start my new job in Frankfurt. I have just so many mixed feelings all over the last 2 years. My mother and sister no longer talk to me. I started completely over in my 30s. Now for some comments. Everyone sucks here. You understood the risks of having sex without protection, and you saw the signs that she might not go through with it. She is an a-hole for not following through on her promise, but your stupidity brought a child into the world. It's now your responsibility to take care of your child to the best of your ability. I hope this is a fake post. You're the a-hole. You clearly know that you have enough money for child support, as you spent $3.2 million to leave the country. Yet you have been working to lessen child support. You do not need to want to be a parent to her to at least make sure that she can be successful for your own stupid mistakes. And yes, you are equal to blame as the mother is. She will have it hard enough, but imagine if she grows up and finds out that her father did everything in his power to move across the world just to give her less money to grow up on, and you lost contact with your family over it. You're the a-hole. Reading through some of your comments, if the money wasn't a motivating factor, why liquidate and shift assets around? Obviously, you did care about your money or you wouldn't have done that. So to me, that's a suck move. Leaving the country to escape a woman having your child seems a bit excessive to me as well. Further, she sucks too. She led you to believe she would agree to an abortion. You thought it was an agreement, so went into a sexual relationship with her, thinking you were on the same page. Obviously, you were not.